Today, we're going to be finding out if each and every one of you are super tasters. What impacts taste? So taste is genetic, and it is unique to people. So by a quick show of hands, who here hates broccoli? Okay, and who here thinks cilantro tastes like soap? Okay, we might have some super tasters in the crowd. So it's all genetic, and because it's different for different people, that's why two people can go to one meal. One person can be their favorite restaurant, and the other person would never want to go again. So by a quick show of hands, let's predict. Who here thinks that they're a super taster? Okay. One of our first products was this Supertaster kit. And what it is it's strips of paper that are coated in specific compounds that super tasters can taste. If you're not a super taster, you will taste nothing and think that I put a blank piece of paper in front of you. That's because taste, like I said, is unique to people. Of these compounds, the first is phenolthiourea. Then there's thiourea, which is similar but a different compound, and some people taste it while others don't. There's also sodium benzoate, which is a commonly used preservative for pickling, salsas, foodstuffs, even some juices. So some of you guys may even recognize it. And then we also have a placebo strip, because at Bartovation, we believe in science, and if you don't control with the placebo, did you really do an experiment? So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, let's test some paper. We're gonna do it together and go from A to D. Essentially, you just put each one on your tongue and take notes. So now let's all test A together. I know. Okay, now let's test B. And if, like I said, it'll either taste like paper or you're gonna taste something that might be pretty strong. So if you tasted something, just write that down. If you didn't, write that down as well for each letter. And then when you're done, you can just put the strips back on the setting. Okay, so now by a show of hands, who here tasted A? Who here tasted B? Wow, we've got a lot of super tasters. You guys were way too pessimistic for this activity. Who here tasted C? And how about D? Okay, so now let's talk about what that means. So D was our control. So if you tasted D or thought C and D tasted the same, then you'd be classified as a normal taster. If you can taste C and that bitterness of that PTC and can tell the difference between C and D, at a minimum, you're a standard super taster. And then from there, we can go further. And then if you also taste B, you'd be recessive. And if you tasted A, B, and C, and then could identify D as the placebo with no additional taste, then you're a dominant super taster. So did we have any? We had some dominant super tasters in the room, by show of hands. Now let's talk about the real world applications of being a super taster. So during the start of the coronavirus pandemic, the Mayo Clinic actually did a study using our test strips and found a strong linkage between whether or not someone was an asymptomatic taste, whether or not someone was a super taster, and if they were to get coronavirus, if they would be asymptomatic. Now, this doesn't mean that being a super taster influenced that directly, but since it is linked to a specific allele, that correlation is likely related to that allele. There was also an evolutionary advantage because super tasters would taste bitterness in some foods and avoid it, and before there were as robust systems keeping our food safe, this was a huge advantage. Additionally, super tasters are less likely to smoke. They taste bitterness a lot stronger than normal tasters, and as a result, it influences that specific habit. Thank you guys so much.